Welcome to the Happy Rebel podcast, where we explore the realms of finding your calling, living your values, and doing the work of self-healing. Through candid conversations with fellow seekers, we'll uncover ideas and concepts that challenge, expand, and empower us to embrace our authentic selves and live with intention. Hi there, I'm Kelly Street, owner of Happy Rebel and your guide on this journey. I'm known for my insatiable curiosity and tendency for pushing boundaries. I've always been a challenger, eager to question the status quo and explore the uncharted territories of personal growth. So join me as we navigate the twists and turns of life's journey, seeking out the wisdom and insights that illuminate our path towards fulfillment and rebellion against the ordinary. Before we get started, I want to remind you to connect with me on Instagram at Happy Rebel, where you can ask questions and share your thoughts. Remember, you are never alone on your path to becoming a happy rebel. This is the Happy Rebel Podcast. As we enter the space of the Happy Rebel podcast, I invite you to gently focus your eyes, or if possible, allow your eyes to be fully closed. Take a deep, cleansing breath and exhale to ground into your body. Inhale deeply, visualizing a golden light in your heart center. With each exhale, imagine that light growing stronger and brighter. Continue to focus on your breath as you hold this message in your heart. Embrace the balance between the light and the dark, the challenges and the victories. Remember that growth comes through the tension of rebellion and acceptance. With gratitude for this moment of grounding and connection, slowly open your eyes, prepared to embark on this podcast adventure. Well, it is just me today. This is my first official full solo episode, and I'm really excited to be able to do this, to talk about something that's really important to me. And that is talking about how to stay grounded and to be within yourself and to be present, even when there's a lot of tumultuous things happening, and even when there's a lot of change or just tough stuff that you're going through. So this topic comes up because I've just been reflecting a lot lately on how much has changed in both my life and in the world over the last 5 years that Happy Rebel has been in my life. So Happy Rebel came into my life in October of 2019. And over the last 5 years, so much has changed, both for me personally, but also just in how things are in the world. So much has changed, but also so much is still the same. So it's a little bit of both. But through all of those changes, through all of those ups and downs, I have both had to, but also was able to develop some really strong practices that help me put one foot in front of the other and just be able to keep moving through my life, even with everything that was changing. So I thought I would come on and share a little bit of that with all of you, because hopefully it would be helpful to somebody. So, because it's been helpful to me to learn from other people and to be able to take a little bit of what all of these different teachers that I've worked with over the years have taught me and integrate them so that I could have a more well-rounded life and grounding practice for myself. So we have the course Creating Rituals at Happy Rebel, and that course really came out of this idea for me that I have all of these little rituals and all of these things that I do in my life to keep myself sane, to keep myself grounded, to come back to myself when I am going through periods of anxiety and depression. So I thought, what better way to kind of help people than to share these practices with them and create a course around it. So if you want to check that out, it is an 8-week course with daily journal prompts and daily rituals for you to try to incorporate and embrace for yourself. And most of them have a daily meditation. Some of them you can do like while you're brushing your teeth, because there is literally a teeth brushing ritual that is included in the course. So they're just like all sorts of things that you may have never tried before that you can do to create more of a mindful practice around the things that you do in your daily life as you're just going throughout your day. So just note that, just check that out. But I want to start with who I was when I bought Happy Rebel. So in October 2019, I was working full time as a marketing director. I had just finished my yoga teacher training, and I was looking for a way out of the 9 to 5 lifestyle, but I knew that it wasn't exactly yoga teaching. I knew that it maybe had something to do with coaching therapy, but I was still unable to financially to make that jump to go back to school and to start doing that. Plus, also, one of the other big things that was going on in my life then is that I was navigating the gauntlet that is infertility and IVF treatments. And that is actually still going on in my life today. But at that time was coming through a really rough patch where I had a job that worked well and paid well for my lifestyle, but it was not something that was fulfilling or what I wanted to be doing, and I had known it for a while, but I didn't see a way out. I didn't see a way out of infertility treatments. I didn't see a way out of my job. I didn't see a way out of the darkness in general in my life. And then I found Happy Rebel and thought, okay, this is either going to be a disaster and a terrible distraction, or maybe this will be something that helps me on my way out. But either way, I saw the logo, I saw the name, and I just fell in love, and I was like, okay, Happy Rebel. This is something that I need in my life. So then after starting my journey with Happy Rebel, I was about 6 months in and COVID happened. And I was not able to get products. The world was shut down. Everything was terrible. And a month before, I had decided that I was going to quit the subscription box game and start making all of our own products and to just kind of get out of the rat race of subscription boxes, because it wasn't actually aiding my lifestyle. It was hurting the reason why I got into owning a business in the first place. And so I had COVID happening, I quit subscription boxes, and then a few months later, I was like, oh, what would be a great idea now that my family can make this work? I'm going to leave my 9 to 5 job to get my master's in clinical psychology, and I'm going to become a licensed professional counselor, aka a therapist. And so, yeah, let me just do all those things in like a 6 month period and see how that works, because that's really smart, right? To just like totally upend your life with no real plan. But I did it. And then a few months later, we decided to move from the big city to my husband's hometown, which is about 20,000 people. And that, of course, was in the middle of the time when things are still shut down for the most part across the country. And so moving to a small town where nothing's really happening, both because of, a pandemic, but also because of it being a small town. And so we did that, and it allowed me to focus a little bit more in and focus on my grad school, get that done, get that accomplished in a really short period of time. And then about 6 months ago, we moved again, but this time in the same town, to live on 35 acres in the country. And so I just went from having this in the 5 years, I went from living this life where I was traveling like once or twice a month for my job, speaking on stages, hosting a podcast about legal marketing, having this really sort of on the outside kind of an impressive life, I think, for, for a middle class person. And it just totally has shifted to now we are getting chickens next week, and I mow the lawn on a riding lawnmower. And you couldn't have told me 5 years ago, like if you had told me that this is what my life was going to look like now, I never would have believed it. I was a diehard city girl for my entire adulthood. But here I am. Sometimes things in life come full circle. And the thing is that I grew up in the country in a town of 300 people. So it was a bit different, quite a bit different than this, but still grew up in the country, grew up on lots and lots of acres with family around. And little did I know that that was what I would choose for myself 20 some years later after I left my hometown and the childhood home that I grew up in. So here I am. And with all of those changes and all of that craziness going on, I've had to do a lot of things and develop a lot of practices to really stay together, because the most stressful things that you can do in life are to, move, get married or divorced, go through medical treatments, or have a long-term illness. And even though infertility is not necessarily a long-term illness, it has been a long-term thing that's stayed with me and is something that's honestly pretty much always on my mind. So there are a lot of things that I've had to incorporate and have chosen to incorporate in my life so that I could stay mentally healthy. And that's mentally healthy for the most part. I just want to note that I definitely have experienced long-term depression and anxiety. It's something that's been with me since really I was a young teen or even a preteen. And it's never completely gone away, but I've been lucky enough that I've been able to manage it without medication, just by using some of the tools that I talk about here. And of course, therapy from time to time. So let's get into the things that I do, my daily rituals, or maybe even weekly rituals. So first and foremost, how I start my day. I get up every day at around 5:50, 6 a.m., just because that's the time I need to get up to be able to get my family going in the morning and to be able to get to my clients on time. So I start my day at about 5:50, and I start that with anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes of movement. And this is either yoga or stretching or a walk or dance sometimes. That's kind of a fun way to start my day. I am definitely not a running person. Also have not, at least yet, been a Peloton person, but sometimes I'll do weights or kettlebells, and body weight exercises are definitely my preference. So, anyway, regardless, some gentle movement is how I start my day. And after I do a little bit of gentle movement, I do a few minutes of meditation. Sometimes this is 5 minutes, sometimes it's 10, kind of depending on how soon I actually get myself out of bed. And I love to move my body before I then try to meditate, because I just sometimes find that I need to like get into my body and to move around a little bit before I'm actually ready to do any sort of mental focus, even though I've kind of just woken up. So, on the meditation front, I love the Insight Timer app. I'm not good at just doing the sitting and breathing unless it's about a minute. I can do about a minute of just sitting and listening to my breath, but for the most part, I need a little bit of guidance. So I like the Insight Timer app. And I just want to throw it out there that I, under Happy Rebel, have started to put meditations on Insight Timer. So if you search at Happy Rebel, you will find a couple of meditations for or from me under there. Those are my little bits of guidance, and I'll hopefully be adding some more as we go over time. But just a little plug, if you use the Insight Timer app, you can find me on it. Then I also do like YouTube. YouTube is good for just finding random things and being able to find teachers or voices, people that you like. You can do that on random on YouTube as well. So, movement and meditation, that's really how I start my morning, along with journaling. So, journaling or doing some sort of little daily art piece. For a while, I was doing daily morning watercolor paintings, and that was really fun. I'm still kind of terrible at it, but I'm also not super terrible. So, with the journaling piece, I had never been a consistent journaler my entire life. Like, it would take me like 4 years to fill up a journal from ages 10 on. So, a few years ago, some friends and I started doing morning pages together, and that was great for accountability to do it as a little group, just the 3 of us. But it was also good for accountability for myself to have the Morning Pages book by Julia Cameron and to read through that and go through those practices that she suggests, but then also to actually just do the morning pages every day. And so I did that for the whole book. I think maybe it's 12 weeks of the morning pages practice. Not exactly sure. I'll have to look that up, but I follow that practice, and now I just intuitively journal. I do as much as I want, as little as I want. I write about different things. Sometimes I'll just do a page of gratitudes. Sometimes I'll write down my dreams. Writing down my dreams is a really important practice to me. And then sometimes I'll just kind of write what I'm feeling. Like, if I'm annoyed at my husband, I will write down how I feel about him and how frustrated and annoyed I am. And then usually it helps me work through it. So I just kind of write down whatever I want, but I try to make a practice of writing at least one page every morning. So those are the things I do to start my day. Those are my morning rituals, and that is what helps me feel really good. I know that if I don't do it for more than 2 days in a row, if I don't do this like 15, 20, 30-minute practice, I do not feel as good. So this is just sort of like my non-negotiable. I do this 5 or 6 days a week now consistently. Most of the time, I actually do it every day, 7 days a week. But I let myself have a little break sometimes, or sometimes I do just hit the snooze button and sleep in a little bit. But for the most part, this is my everyday practice. So then some other things that I do that I have found to be really beneficial grounding practices are breath work and breathing. So for me, as someone who's had anxiety most of my life that comes and goes, anxiety from just that little buzz, like that kind of, almost like a tinnitus gnat in your ear of just like a little bit of a anxiety all the time, all the way to times where I've gone through periods where I have full blown panic attacks on a regular basis. And always one of the things that helps, as simple and stupid as it is breathing. So when I feel my anxiety rising, I place one hand on my heart and sometimes maybe one hand on my belly, but usually even just one hand on my heart. And I take a deep breath in and a breath out. I breathe out through the mouth because that allows me to fully relax. When I'm trying to do more intensive, more focused breathing, I'll use either neurodynamic breathwork or Othership Breathwork is another company that I really love and love what they do. Othership is really great because they have some shorter practices, even 5, 10, 15 minutes on YouTube or on their app. Their app is amazing. It's a little expensive, but to me, it is worth it just to have access to all of the practices that Othership offers. So, not an ad. I just really love that company and I love the breath work that they offer. So, that is one of the practices that I just do on occasion, maybe once, twice a week. Another one that I do on occasion is, of course, therapy and coaching. So I've worked with a wide variety of therapists and coaches. You've actually heard me talk to some of them on here. And personally, on the therapy front, I love internal family systems therapy. I love somatic therapy. And you've, of course, also heard me talk about psychedelic medicines used in the therapeutic context. So that's typically ketamine, cannabis, MDMA, and psilocybin. And for people who are curious about it, who are not contraindicated to use those medications, they are illegal to use in the standard therapeutic context. But you know what? I found some amazing benefit about it, or amazing benefits to using them. And it's really helped me manage my depression and anxiety in a better way and to process a lot of deep seated trauma, both known and things that I hadn't been aware were lingering in my psyche. And so for me, I think they're incredibly helpful, but I know they're not for everybody. And I definitely don't push it on people. So that's just a little caveat I have to say. And this is not medical advice. And so on the coaches front, I have worked with Nicole, who you've heard on the podcast, Kara, who you've heard on the podcast, to do some shamanic work. I've worked with other mindset coaches, entrepreneur coaches. And one thing I want to say about both coaches and therapists is that my mindset on working with a therapist or a coach is that they can all give you something, but no one can give you everything. There is no one in the world who is my guru, who is my one teacher, except me and my own inner wisdom, my intuition, my ability to discern. No one single person gives me all the answers. And that is so, so important for me personally to maintain. I trust wise people. I trust my own wisdom. I trust the wisdom of the universe, God, spirit, however you want to define it for yourself. But I also run it through my own filter to see whether things feel right or true for me or not. So that was just a caveat I want to give with when working with coaches and therapists. Another teacher I love, another thing that grounds me is nature. So spending time sitting outside, going for walks, just being near trees, foraging for edible plants and mushrooms. I love it all. And of course, now it makes sense why I live in the country, because I love doing those things. Another thing I love is reading. Reading has been such a gift to me since I was a young child. I would lose myself in books and just be able to get immersed in that world and feel so safe between the pages of a book. So I love reading. I'll read fiction, memoir, psychology, almost anything. And I always like to share a few of the books that I am reading with people. And so I just read The Red Tent. I am currently reading The Future by Naomi Alderman, and that is so good. And then I also just read On Our Best Behavior by Elise Lunan. And that book is intelligent and dense, but it is very thought provoking. Elise is definitely a dream guest that I would have someday. I would love to talk to her and see more about who she is. So, and side note, Someday it would actually be really fun to do a Happy Rebel book club. I don't know if anybody out there would be interested in that, so maybe let me know. Hit me up on Instagram if that sounds like something that would be interesting to you, but I would love to do a Happy Rebel book club. So, another practice that I do that is a daily ritual that keeps me grounded. Sometimes I do this in the morning. I definitely do it at night with my family, but is a gratitude practice. I will just do so simple. I am grateful for. I am grateful that. And I'll sometimes just do one sentence, one thing I'm grateful for. Or sometimes, like I said, when I was talking about morning journaling, I'll write a whole page of gratitudes and that will just be all that I journal. But I find that doing that one thing, no matter how stressed, how terrible I feel, really grounds me back to myself and reminds me, okay, at least I have this one thing. If nothing else, I have this one thing I'm grateful for. I am grateful for water. I am grateful for my dog. I am grateful for the sunshine and whatever it might be, finding one thing that you can be grateful for in the day. I'm grateful for a door that locks. That can be as simple as that. So there you go. Having a gratitude practice definitely helps. And another thing is friends or relationships. I've noticed throughout the years that one of the first things I do when I'm stressed out, when I'm anxious, when I'm depressed, is I retreat inward. I go in, I hide. And I have had to really learn to reach out when I'm struggling and to maintain my friendships. I do this by having regular dates with my friends. We make it happen. We just literally put it on our calendar. It's like scheduling sex with a partner. Like it's the least, fun, spontaneous thing, but it is what I need to do to make it happen. Otherwise, I would go months without seeing anybody. So there you go. Just to run down, those things that I mentioned once again are movement, meditation, journaling or daily artwork, therapy and coaching, nature, reading, having a gratitude practice, and friends. So that is what I do. Those are some of the rituals that I make sure to include in my life to stay grounded, to stay connected with myself, and to balance out the difficult things that I have gone through and navigate just kind of the ups and downs of life. So I want to end with some things to come over the next 6 months. So as you know, I talk about gratitude a lot, and we have our Happy Rebel Gratitude Journal. And so I will be coming out with a gratitude course to pair with that said gratitude journal. I'm really excited about this. The gratitude journal has great prompts. It's a 30-day gratitude journal, so you can really focus in on creating that practice for yourself over the period of a month. But it would be really helpful, I thought, to have some meditations or some other practices to go along with that gratitude. So that's what that course is going to be. I'm also going to be creating some more fun things, some little jewelry, and I think some new hats will be coming up. There will be more podcast episodes coming out. Of course, I have been loving doing this, and I'll continue to take some breaks every 10 episodes or so, but I am excited to keep this train going for now. And then I will also be putting out some more meditations and breathwork practices on Insight Timer and on YouTube, because being a yoga teacher, being a therapist, doing those practices and sharing them with people just feels so important to do. So that's what you can expect from Happy Rebel in the future. Thank you so much for listening. I am so glad that you joined me to hear a little bit about what I do and how I navigate my own challenges in life. So, thank you so much. Thank you for being part of the Happy Rebel podcast community. Stay connected with us on Instagram at Happy Rebel. If you've enjoyed our episodes, please consider rating, liking, and reviewing the podcast. It truly does help us grow. Until next time, this is Kelly Street. Remember, embrace the dark and the light.